This computer. And hi, Ivan. How are you? Nice.
Hi.
Hi, Ari. What are you doing?
I'm just walking. I go to Yogyakarta, so I drive. So and then have to. I'm listening and this is good. Talking about merantau because also in Java it is very common. People merantau from the like Sumatra and then almost a lot is from Sumatra. So this is not only like going to the another island, but then also they are have just bring like the very mentally tradition, like for example religion and very diehard beliefness, and then like in here, so the people like from the Merantau itself sometimes making the good connection again between the Java and Sumatra. So I think for in Indonesia, yeah. So I think it's interesting topic. What are you talking? Thank you.
Do you hear any of those pantong that she recite? Is it familiar to you? Like, have you?
Yeah, sometimes, sometimes, yeah, like bulbul also the bird, and then like this is very nice. Like
Okay. I have invited. Should we move on to the next topic because I don't want to. Yeah, because it took a little bit long because he talked really fast, so I have to slow down the video so for everyone to at least grasp what it is. And I've invited Hao Pei, who's here. Yeah, and then maybe he can talk a little bit of on like how he approaches like decentralization in his own personal practice. Maybe a little bit on, maybe not, or if you would like to, you can also like how it relates to your artistic practice also. Yeah,
I thought you're gonna discuss about his migration works first, but
wait, if you're okay with like we start discussing about migration, then
yeah, I think is it better since it's fresh in everyone's mind?
okay. 一佩你觉得呢？
Yeah, it's okay. Just can discuss for about around the 10 to 15 minutes and back to the Hao Pei's practice.
Okay. Anybody want to share what they feel or like or perplexed or like Is Chris here? I saw his I see his name. I muted him just now. He was like anyway. So yeah. What you guys think? You want to talk first, XX?
Yeah, so it's really interesting that how he drews a parallel between the bird and the tail that he shared first. That makes me thought of a story of the so there's a kind of butterfly in North America. They will complete a circle journey, like traveling from North America to Mexico, then back to North America within 3 generations. So for the first generation, they might go south a little bit, and then the baby is born and they continue traveling souther to Mexico, and then they complete the journey, migrate back to where their grandparents were born. It's just some thoughts pop in my mind after the bird story.
I remember he mentioned about how his ancestry is related to Orang Laut, like the sea nomads. But I mean, in as well. But I think I missed that part. I didn't hear that part. But anyway, Lisa or Ivan, do you have anything you want to share? What do you do?
Ivan, I really like your hat.
Thank you.
Related to migration, is that your interpretative thing?
You know, it's related because I'm just waking up and I didn't have my. I was just. But No, so I have been thank you for for speaking about the butterfly. I mean, I'm living in very close place to the area that they come from Canada, so they cross United States, and so they arrive to here very close to the name of this butterfly is monarch butterfly. It's orange, and it's a symbol of also it's a symbol of how the continent, the North America continent, is linked. I mean, as you know, we have a lot of borders between Mexico, United States, but that's a nice symbol that the butterflies just pass that border without any documents and anything. So it's a very beautiful symbol of linking the three countries, Mexico, United States, and Canada. So no, it's nice that you mention it because it's very symbolic for our culture. All this flying from the three generations that you said. And related to the topic, I'm having some ideas, and I'm just getting information, and I think it's important to have this meeting today just to start thinking in a deeper approach. But I'm just getting now, not producing, just getting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have some feedback, comment, and also some kind of inquiry about his practice. I mean, I find it very interesting about this idea, this notion. I mean, of course, I know that people in this region has always been very mobile because of connected by the sea, and also in a way from the sense of his sources. He has been looking at the usual quite the normal usual sources that we look at today when it comes to finding out the earlier period of the kind of Malay culture, or the peak of Malay culture, which is pivoted at the Malacca Sultanate as well. But I mean, maybe this is also a kind of a question for him as well. I'm also always very curious, because today when people are speaking a lot about the Malay world, right, it's always talking about it from a Muslim perspective, or rather from a Malacca perspective, where Malacca is the main sultanate. And I'm not of course before that there have been many records of Hindus and also Buddhist civilizations or kingdoms in the region as well. I'm rather very curious also if there are any like I say, I don't know if this is supposed to be posed as a question or what, but does he has any interest in kind of looking at a kind of pre-Islamic kind of this mobility of the Malay people as well? Because also according to early Chinese sources, where Palembang, if I'm not wrong, it was the Sriwijaya Empire, where I can't remember the name of this Chinese monks who was actually going by sea route to India to learn more about Buddhism. He actually talks about how in Palembang it was a big center for learning about Buddhism as well. But yet, it's again studying from a very religious perspective. But are there any possibility of kind of reading Malayness in there, and definitely the mobility about it as well? And again, also if you talk about Aceh as well, again before kind of historical periods as well, there was like, again I can't remember the exact year, but again it was a huge earthquake that wiped out the early civilization in Aceh, and then came the rise of the current more Islamic civilization that we know of Aceh today. So I mean, definitely the mobility is something that's very well connected to the region, and this mobility I feel is also a circumstance of the geography around the area itself, because as we know, Indonesia, or at least this region, at least Sumatra and Java, and even the west end of Indonesia we know today is under the ring of fire as well, where it's full of volcanoes. So people are always moving, and it's definitely a a kind of nature that I feel is inevitable as well. And I mean, this also kind of just reminds me of an artist duo friend that I know of whose works or his practice is also very mobile as well. Probably most of you might know of them. Tita Salina and Erwan Ahmed. Yeah, so they are also always going on mobile and looking at different parts of history and how they are kind of affecting and using mobility as a way, uh, as a method, I would say. Yeah, and I just wondering if, I mean, for them, they are kind of trying to see Indonesia or from a very mobile and also a very geography perspective, for yeah, for Syahrul, I'm just also very curious if there's any um, other kind of points of entry for him to look at in this case. I mean, of course, by looking at that particular bird, it is already a very interesting perspective, I feel, in looking at mobility and also looking at the region and speaking about how this bird is also not native to the region itself. So a lot about mobility, but I'm also just wondering, um, if you're talking about this region as well, um, something that kind of void is also about the idea of religion as well, which is why, I mean, kind of Islam also came in through the seas as well, and likewise, before Islam, Hinduism and Buddhism as well came in through the seas as well. And yeah, I just for me, I just always find like so-called, if I may use the term forgotten histories, because forgotten histories are something that is very uh uh yeah, it's basically, it happens because of certain political stigma, I would say. And I guess in this case, might be very sensitive, but since this is it's a closed door sharing and it's a safe space, if you talk about this kind of certain kind of histories, whether to be remembered or not, I think the I would say the Malaysian government is one of a culprit of this, in a sense, because if you look at how Malaysia defined their history, they only start to talk about it mostly from the Malacca Sultanate period. Prior to that, it's a very hush. There's, of course, there are the Langkah Suka and a lot more. Definitely there are a lot more historians, Dr. Farish Noor and a lot of other people who can definitely tell you more about that. But uh, politically, because the fact that it's non-Islamic, people don't really talk about it. So yeah, sorry, I'm digressing a bit, but I'm always very curious in a sense where uh, is there a way to also to kind of like, since Syahrul is interested in studying Malayners, is there a possibility of a way of studying Malayners, but perhaps not from a Islamic manner? If I mean, it's just a proposition that I'm kind of suggesting lah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your input.
I'm curious about so I know Singapore mother's language is about the Malay, right? Malayu language, and how does he put himself into this linguistic system to discover the migration of the history? So as his personal identity, I'm not sure how much or how many percentage of the blood that he has the Malaysian blood. Sorry. Anyway, so I'm just curious as how the Singaporean now is to looking for the identity and how to define itself related to the Malacca history. Since there's in the Malaga region, as the Hao Pei was mentioned, the Aceh wall, that people are between the Sumatra and the Java is always the migratory, or many people even born in Sumatra, but they migrate to the into the big city or into the capitalist city. So how is the way or it's the route to transform or to bring this Malacca people into other islands of Indonesia or even to the Singapore? This is my curiosity. And I'm also interested in Syahrul has many documentaries from the Netherlands historical knowledge as well. So this must something connected between with the Indonesian history. So I also curious how to define the contents in the specific perspective from the Netherlands government. Or which part that he picked up as for the Malaysian, or which part is narrative to the Indonesian. That is also my question to him.
How he actually read in between the modern boundary between Malaysia and Indonesia, right? Can I rephrase it that way?
Yeah, that's it.
Definitely very tricky topic. Yeah, I mean, actually, I would love for him to share more about his FYP, because actually, after he talked about how his research goes, right, he actually went into a deep, because his topic of interest is actually machine learning. How he uses like AI or like thinking about that kind of certain way. It was quite interesting too. But I mean, it's still in development lah. But I will follow up with him if he want to share that, or like send you guys more information, things like that. But yeah, any more?
Yeah, this sounds is even interesting how he used the technologies platform or tool to involve in this migration topic, or how to check the data nowadays from that can compile into the cultural studies.
Any more things to add? If nothing, then can I just go to the toilet really quickly and come back, and then we can start. I say sorry, guys.
Okay. So others, that do you have other feedback to Syahrul's sharings, or do you want to share that your feedback about the migration, the moment? I think we put the migration and decentralization together. It's in some way it's in the opposite side, but in some other area we find the definition is overlap to each other. And I'm also curious about how Pei later, how would you define your decentralization into your artistic practice and the research?
Actually, I mean, since because I wasn't aware Syahrul is also presenting his work over here, but because I don't know his work before this, but it's quite interesting how he's looking at this region and he's studying, you know, that what's that term he said?
Marantau?
Marantau, sorry, yeah, the movement itself, because I also have another research project that I'm also looking at a kind of, rather than ethnicity, I'm looking at a particular figure. So, but maybe that one I will go on to it when if I have time, because I know time is quite tight for this. For this sharing. So I just, maybe I can just go on to my kind of sharing of what my idea of decentralization is, or rather what Winnie actually approached me in the first place. I'll just like to share screen. Hold on. I just share this, and okay. Hold on. So I guess sorry. I just want to share so based on what Winnie invited me in terms of decentralization, and it's also a kind of, well, you can say a practice I do, well, not really as a kind of artistic practice, but also as a personal practice practice, I would say, is that on the decentralization is the things that are what I kind of put it in this case under this term called food rescuing, dumpster diving, and also in the form of guerrilla gardening. So these are things that are actually something that is definitely out of the system, because we are actually trying to correct things that the systems have flaws in it. And so this is something that I've been doing since 2017, quite a number of years already. And as I do it, I guess most of you probably are very familiar with these terms, because this is quite I don't know, can say quite a trendy and rather people are aware of such things, you see. So for the context of those who don't know, I just want to be talking about food rescue and dumpster diving together, because those actions are actually similar. It's just that the items that are being rescued are just different. One is food and one is kind of non-food items as well. And to kind of give people an understanding why I started doing all this is really, for me, I've always been, well, I was greenwashed, since in university while volunteering for NGO basically, and that was how I really got to know a lot more about environmental issues. And then of course this is something that this particular topic came out a lot is because Singapore, we are producing so much waste, and then government keeps saying that by 2035 we will, our landfill will be full. And this is also where I started to look into something that's more into like food rescuing and dumpster diving. How can we kind of reduce waste, and what is it not? And yeah, so that's how I embarked my whole journey into this idea. And I mean, earlier on I also did wrote an article for National Gallery, and that's where I started to talk about food rescuing and mostly food rescuing rather than dumpster diving, and how it actually kind of helped to respond towards the pandemic as well, because it while it started off as a kind of I would say a radical sustainability effort, it became also a social effort as well, because it eventually helped to breach some of the gaps when certain groups of people start losing income. Of course, this practice has always been trying to help the poorer people, but eventually the sandwich class, as we know, the kind of the middle class, also become a vulnerable group during the hit that got hit by this pandemic itself. So I just want to play this very short video of what exactly dumpster diving is about, which you can see also I'm not the only one. There are a lot more people, and also young people are doing this at the same time.
It's a bit damp. It smells like it's out of the laundry. Hi, my name is Bianca. I am 25 years old. Dumpster diving is when you go around dumpsters to pilfer through people's trash and then hopefully or ideally pick up something that you think you can use or repurpose or gift away. I think I grew up with that kind of mindset that we have to make the most of what we have and maximize everything. I think it's just like very sayang, it's like so wasted, like people throwing away perfectly good items. It's just ridiculous. This is one hotspot beside the central chute coming down. Things that are too big to fit into the chute, people would come down and put it beside. Here you would find furniture, big furniture, things that are maybe fragile. So I would come here and then I would just scrummage through. Here also is another chute. So plenty of things here also. The recycling bins, the blue bins, I like to hit because people throw away just all sorts of things there, even things that cannot be recycled. So I would just open and then I'll just look through. I find I bring back a lot of glassware and ceramics because I think that I really can use them. These are some of the glassware and ceramics that I've brought back. We've tried putting plants in and growing them, but they die sometimes also. We have glass bowls that we use to put our overnight oats in, and then we put it in the fridge and have it the next morning. This was the hoop that I picked up also, the one with the grooves and the bumps. Such great condition. It came in already like that assembled, and I just found it beside the trash bin, so I just picked it up and brought it home. I got a whole bag of JCHO CDs, and I was just like, what? Why would anyone want to throw in JCHO CDs? But I'm the blessed recipient of this. I do get stares. So people who walk past, they'll be like, at night there's a good time to pilfer through trash because there's just fewer people and more stuff because people always throw things like out at night. We have lots of toys, hangers, children's playthings. Yep. I open and I can immediately smell just something rotting, which I presume is food waste. If it contaminates anything, honestly, this whole bin, whatever's inside cannot be recycled lah. Ta-da! Quite good condition. Quite stylish also, right? For young people. There's like office clothes in here. So it's stuff that I can definitely give away. Give my friends, give my boyfriend, whatever. Yeah. So I'm gonna save this from this trash since it's also rotting anyways. This, I'm supposing, is an Indian costume, which is very nice. Look at it. It's like, it's perfectly great condition. It's so new. For me, I'm really active on the online platform. So on Facebook, there are plenty of dumpster diving groups, and people would take pictures of what they dumpster dive, put it online, and then someone would comment, and then they would try to arrange a meetup time. So what I usually do is I put it outside my place, and then I'll be like, okay, if this person says it's coming down on like a Monday, then it's okay, I'll put this in the morning outside. Anytime you just come and take it. They actually leave something for me. They leave like candy or like snacks. And then I come home and I see them outside like my door, and I'm just like, wow. And I know some of them, like they really don't live off much. So for them to actually give me things in return, the fact that they would still be so generous, I think really heartens me. What do you call that? Okay, cut this off. This is just my own speculation.
Yeah, okay. So I guess you kind of saw what exactly this whole dumpster diving food rescuing is about. Of course, I dare to say, having done that, I really learned to stop buying things, even to the point of food. And I really know that you basically can find anything and everything for free, at least in Singapore. There's so much waste. But the only problem is that you need a lot of time and basically time. I would say time is the biggest thing that I lack because of doing all these things, you see. But I mean, today I'm not gonna I don't think I don't need to share with you how much food or how much what kind of products that you can get. It gets never ending, and people really throw away a lot of crazy things. But what I want to share is really the act of doing this, the act of doing this kind of guerrilla effort, of dumpster diving and also food rescuing as well. So what you are seeing here is actually a picture of the back of a bakery, which is near right at the market below my house right now. So what you're seeing here is literally just a bin on the right hand side, and then this is the back door of the bakery. So way before I had the courage to really approach them to ask whether they have any leftover. I know that they actually throw the bread into this bin, and literally every night I was like, after they throw, I would dig in and take out the bags, exactly what that girl was doing in the video, and take out the bread. Of course, due to hygiene purposes, I only selected those already kind of pre-packed bread in it. But what I want to suggest is that over here is that one big thing about this whole idea of dumpster diving and food rescuing is about learning the environment that you are in. This environment, it is a space where nobody really frequent other than the workers themselves. But at the same time, you are also learning about trying to find ways to negotiate around. So I don't know if you can see my mouse, but over here there is actually one camera, and this is the bakery's camera. And so literally whenever I'm digging in the bin here, they can see me. But that is a camera I neglect. and over here, there are 3 cameras over here. These are the ones that are I mean, you can't see it here, but it's over here because they are at the lift lobby, and they are actually planted there by the town council, the government. So basically, all because Singapore is such a highly surveillance nation, you know, you as someone who are kind of digging the scrams, you're constantly trying to find ways to go around and find ways not to be detected to while doing this, because technically speaking, this is a little bit of a gray area because it's still between a legal and illegal and effort, I would say. But this actually led me to realize, oh, you know, you become, as a dumpster diver, as a food rescuer, you become a lot more aware of where all these surveillance cameras are, and it leads you to think like how do you kind of negotiate and go around, but basically in a way you're kind of breaking the law already, you know. So it led me to this kind of ideas lah. And of course, these are just the neighborhood bakeries. So the other picture I want to share with you is this is probably some of you are familiar with. This is literally the floor plan of a shopping mall, because also before that I also used to rescue bread from a bakery, and when I say rescue, I also mean guerrilla rescuing. So when I was because there are 2 types of rescuing as far as I am aware of. One is you are kind of coordinated rescuing. Basically, you approach the vendors and you tell them, yeah, you're taking these particular food items and sharing it, and there's an agreement to it. And then what I mean by guerrilla is also in a sense where there's no agreement. The vendor does not want you to take it. So what you do is that you will monitor them when they throw their things away, and then you will go to the dumpsters and pick it up and throw. So which is why for me, this particular floor plan, which is actually you see in most of the emergency staircase in shopping malls, something that people will take it for granted, they will not notice it. But this is a very valuable resource for food rescuers, and especially because why I say that is because, so as you see this this is a shopping mall, so this is one of the walkway and main entrance. And over here, let me shift this. So over here it says it is the loading bay, and in loading bay, and this is also where the compactor is. Compactor is also basically the dumpster. Every night after, when shops close, they will pack all their rubbish and they'll throw it into this compactor. So also a food rescuer, you kind of need to study this plan, because you need to know, okay, what time they are closing, what time these shops are closing, and what way they're going to walk. So as you can see, you know, this is one entry point towards the loading unloading bay and also the compactor, and the other way is the vehicle itself. So a lot of times we rescuers, we are coordinating because we are doing guerrilla rescue. We don't talk about, I mean, we tried approaching them before, but they said no, so we have to succumb to guerrilla rescuing. So when basically we need to monitor what time they close, what route they take, and then from there we can see what are the alternative routes that we can also go to the compactor immediately once they throw it into the compactor, so that, you know, to avoid any hygiene issues when in terms of the bread that we, or the food, usually the bread that we rescue. So this itself, I mean, I'm trying to understand, say, as a kind of a psychological way of understanding what this activity of rescuing, this activity of rescuing takes as well, because it is not just the idea of saving resources, saving resources and distributing them, but also the idea of how you navigate, avoid all these surveillance cameras, understanding the environment from a neighborhood back alley dumpster to a shopping mall dumpster where it's even more heavily surveillance. And what is even more interesting in the context of a shopping mall is that because at these compactors, they are not empty, meaning to say there are people working there. That means there are people who are operating the compactors there. Interestingly though, these people, they don't really care what you do. They are just doing their jobs. They want to clear things, and they are the people who, obviously they are definitely the one of the lower class people, because it's a job that nobody wants to do, and it's always the people who, in a way, a lower class of the society will work. And yet, interestingly, when you tell them your intentions, what you're doing, right, they're actually very chill with you, like, oh, okay, yeah, you go ahead and take. I don't really care, you know. But for them, they say that, but if my manager or supervisor comes, then be careful, because they are the ones who are very particular about this, about who are these people, what are they trying to take from the dumpster, a lot of liability issues that comes in, you see. So as well as this activity, while I was doing it as well, it also leads me to the idea of finding allies on the ground, and very unlikely allies, people like security guards, people like cleaners, people like and these are often people who are of a lower class of the society. It leads me to kind of observe and see this lah. And yeah, hold on. Yeah, then moving on to something that's a little bit moving beyond food rescuing, talking about dumpster diving. So as for me, I dumpster dive. I only just dumpster dive somewhere in my neighborhood, and interestingly, also observation I made is that younger families, the younger family dynamics, right, or residential area with younger family dynamics have a tendency of throwing more things. Yeah, I think older generations have a habit of hoarding, so you actually don't get that much interesting things. But as far as I know, some dumpster divers are really hardcore. They start looking for areas where there are upcoming en bloc. So en bloc is also, I mean, this what you're seeing right here is a screenshot of the Singapore Public Housing Development Board website, where they will declare which particular estate where the entire buildings will be evacuated. That means the people have to move. They have redeveloped that whole area. So when you have such situations happening, people will be throwing a lot of things away. And this is what I mean by some really, really hardcore dumpster divers. They know that they want to find the best gems. They will go onto the websites like this to find out where is the next estate that is going to be en bloc. And they will go there to dumpster dive and to find really, really precious stuff. So again, this is in direct contrary to the idea of what the society is used to buying things, but over here you are really going dumpster diving, searching for resources that are otherwise being disposed of. And again, the what I'm very interested in is the idea of how these people, they go through the effort to search in these websites, these public data websites, to find out where all these projects are happening, so that they can source for much better items or whatever not, you see. Yeah. And of course, once you get things also, whatever it is, you have to distribute. And like just now, that video they already shared, there are plenty of online platforms to share. For me, I'm just sharing some of these platforms here. In Singapore, there's this group called Art Don't Throw, where you really share, kind of different things, and there are books. Basically, I would say the last 5 years, this idea of upcycling or sharing of resources have expanded exponentially. You have even people exchanging or giving away plants, really anything and everything. So I'm very active in a few of these platforms, to the point whereby I am actually admins for a few of these, not these big groups, but smaller groups within my neighborhood itself. And of course, there are other groups as well, and this is also another rather famous one. It's called Bun Giveaway at the Giving Collective. So this is also a bread rescued bread distribution that has kind of covered all over Singapore, which is much more ambitious and much more resourceful than I am. For me, I'm just doing something that is within my limit, that is within my own neighborhood. And just showing you a bit more examples. So this is another project which my friend started off. It's called Touch and Take. So a lot of times also things I dumpster dive, I could not take it, I could not distribute it. He will help me take it and he'll distribute it in this market of his, you see. And this is kind of in conjunction, held in conjunction with a weekly rescued food distribution point in Toa Payoh area, in somewhere central Singapore, also near where I stay. And so this has become a kind of weekly event, and it has gained a lot of momentum. He's giving away a lot of things. So the idea of this rescuing and dumpster diving, right, is not just about rescuing. Like I say, I mean, if you're rescuing, you have to observe the environment, you have to familiarize yourself with the environment, you have to know what are the working hours of these people, so you can know when to approach them or when to really go and take all this food. And at the same time, you understand try to hide from the surveillance cameras. And then once you got the items, you will need to find ways to distribute them. And I guess one of the biggest things that I did not mention is that what you saw in the video is actually a very, very tame version of what you expect. very often we come back with a tsunami of bread or items that we rescue. You see, so it's always extremely overwhelming. It also takes on a very mentally it takes on quite a bit of a toll on us as well. So we have to find ways to sort out to distribute them as well. So yeah, and I mean just showing you some of the methods, ways of distribution. So this is one of the groups that I was sharing that distribute them. So these are the ones that they reach out to the lower income families, and they distribute the rescued vegetables from other places like Little India and also Pasir Panjang Wholesale Center, which is a wholesale vegetable distribution point as well. So you can see activities like this actually kind of happening, and this and what I'm very, very interested in this group of people is that all these are pure acts of volunteerism. There are no, it's basically self-organized. There are no government agencies whatsoever. Perhaps the only government agencies involved is that giving us permission to use this space. Because in Singapore, every other space in Singapore needs to go through permission of Singapore, the government to get hold of. Other than that, everything organized from transporting of all this rescued food to sourcing for all this and then distribution. And of course, in this pandemic, we also have to do, temperature taking. We have to make sure organized. We have to make sure social distancing. Every single thing out there is organized, is self-organized, and all people come from all walks of life. People who are of well-to-do family, middle-class family, even lower class, they all come together for the same agenda, just to basically the idea of sharing these resources and distributing them, you see. So this is something that I find it very intriguing about what this community is about. It's something I've not seen happen in, maybe maybe I'm just living in my myopic world, but I have not seen such huge passion and also such determined self-organization happen with no profit making whatsoever, but for the sake of just reducing waste or distributing food whatsoever. So this is something I find very interesting about this particular community that I myself am involved in also. Yeah. And so this is another distribution point where people are very orderly, kind of queuing up in a very orderly fashion to collect the rescued food, bread in this case as well. Yeah, so try to go a little bit faster. So and again with the idea of environmental and reducing waste, this leads me to also the idea of guerrilla gardening. So guerrilla gardening, again, like I mentioned earlier, every single piece of land in Singapore belongs to government, and if you do not have the permission, even on the grass, you can't even grow your own plants itself. And so this is what I'm very interested in, the idea of guerrilla gardening. With the very first intention of why am I doing this is because I have a lot of food waste at home. And so this is a collective in Singapore called Foodscape Collective. It's called Compost Collaborations. What is very interesting is that they actually collected, is a crowdsourced manner where they actually get people who can take in food waste and who can give away food waste in your own region, and so you can find the nearest one in your neighborhood to pass it on. Something that I'm trying to do my best to kind of reduce waste. Of course, at first I found one who is nearby, who could take in my food waste, vegetable, basically organic food waste. But then she also could not take anymore because her compost bin is full. Like her worms cannot eat as fast as I can give her the waste. And so it resolved me to like, okay, well, how can I find ways to do this? And as a result, that's where I start looking into the idea of guerrilla composting. And with guerrilla composting, it led me to guerrilla gardening as well. And so I kind of chanced upon this plot of land, this small plot of land, which is really a kind of guerrilla garden on its own. It was at first maintained by two middle-aged ladies, and I approached them and say, hey, what are they doing? And they say, oh, they're just growing their own gardening. And I say, oh, every day I actually have my own food waste. Is it okay if I kind of bring it here and compost? And they said, yeah, sure, go ahead and do it. Over time, I've been doing it every day. I've been digging and putting it in, all my food waste in, and the two ladies kind of stopped continuing it. And so this garden itself has flourished as well. And basically whatever I bury, right, seeds start popping out, and it also becomes a form of guerrilla gardening as well. It started from a very intention of trying to reduce waste in the form of food waste. And now actually my father is actually maintaining it. I mean, these are quite a lot of papaya trees and chili tree plants that he kind of brought and migrated over. And this was the early phase of it, and now it's kind of growing pretty well. But yeah, so but my idea of this is also, you know, guerrilla gardening, it has become a way for me to, as a way to kind of reduce waste. You see, it's also a kind of environmental perspective as well. And uh and I think I'm also what's that term, in a way you can also say I'm kind of like a maverick as well. So something that Singapore government is very obsessed with is the idea of data collection. And data collection also resort to the form of okay, sorry, before I go there, so I saying the guerrilla gardening, right? It's not only just not only me who's doing it, there are many other people who are doing it. So this I can share with you the link later on. Again, this is a particular person who has been sharing about his guerrilla gardening process, how he went on, you know, in a different district, how he started doing this. And again, like many others who tried to do this, they people have been warning them that, hey, you know what you're doing is illegal, you know, it's not allowed to. And then he had to sort kind of eventually have to sort the town council or government agencies to get some kind of permission or another plot as well. But as I was saying, all of this, right, is kind of not allowed. And so it is a kind of definitely a kind of guerrilla effort as well. And like I mentioned, that Singapore government is so obsessed with data collection that to the point where they want to also collect data of nature itself. And so this is a project by the government. It's called Trees SG. So they literally try to document every single trees that are planted around Singapore, and as much as possible by the roadside and whatsoever. So I mean, this is a way of well, I don't know if it's a, perhaps it is another method of maybe say smart nation, you know, where they try to digitize and collect all kinds of data. And so I mean, I just want to show you this map. So where my guerrilla garden is actually right here at this plot, which is not documented. I mean, I'm quite happy for that, because I mean, I'm also doing something that is against the status quo. You know, you have all these documented plants and whatnot, but mine is not in it. You know, mine is just at this plot here. So I just want to share a little bit on that. Yeah. So I guess this is the yeah, I would say that it's something that I've been doing a lot in terms of my this kind of practice of decentralization. I hope this is kind of aligned with decentralization, because this is anything and everything that the government does not want to happen. You know, they do not want, first of all, they do not want plants to be out of their own purview, you know, growing out of all these places. And then they also do not want people to be kind of digging the beans to source for all these resources and then redistributing them, mainly because of liability issues and whatnot. And but then yet, you know, this kind of alternative efforts have blossomed and flourished, and is now becoming a force in addressing a lot of issues. You know, mostly maybe starting point is more of environmental issues in reducing waste, but then it also has extend to also addressing certain kinds of social issues as well as a result. Yeah, I guess I should stop here. I don't think because I yeah.
Okay, wait. Actually, before you stop over, the plot of land that you are gardening from, right? Is it NPark land or is it like HDB land?
HDB land, yeah, town council land basically, yeah.
Council land.
Yeah.
Because I know that people who are policing the greenery or nature, right? NPark people, like they have the ranger that goes around and get every plot of land.
Yeah.
Then the tree.sg, is it the website itself was like, is it a NPark website or is it like, what is it?
Yeah, so it's an MParks website actually. So their main criteria is actually really documenting.
NPark is a National Park Council.
Yeah, national.
While HDB is the Housing Development Board that in charges of like that works with urban planning to build out infrastructure for public housing in Singapore. But yeah, just contextualize for everyone. But yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
I mean, just that's all. But all of them have the same agenda. They just anything that is not planted by them or placed there by any of these government agencies, they want to remove it. Yeah.
I see there's a plot a tree button at the.
Oh, yeah. So you can also, I think, I mean, I can go to the website exactly though. So I can, yeah, I mean, you can see itself. Yeah, but yeah, you can kind of plot I think you can also kind of try, you kind of can mark yourself. But
You don't want your garden to be.
I don't want to, I'm that's my main idea, you know. I just want to be this maverick, this kind of guerrilla thing, you know, constantly, you know, you doing all these kind of efforts as a way to fill up the gaps, and also not only so much to expose, but you know, no matter how perfect a system is, it's never perfect. You know, there are flaws, and I feel that certain bodies need to acknowledge that. Yeah.
Body, you mean like the state?
Yeah, bodies like organizations or bodies are mainly the state lah in this sense. Yeah. Because I guess if I talk about like the idea of food rescuing earlier on, the state has have been extremely against the idea, because it is because health food health food security issue is very big, because food health, that means they are very afraid of liability, like if people consume some food and they get food poisoning, and then it becomes a very, very big issue. And in Singapore, food is such a big thing that we even have a agency. It's called currently it has been renamed to call Singapore Food Agency. It's yeah, it's considered one of the top tier ministries in Singapore already. So because Singapore doesn't have agriculture, you know, we don't have a Ministry of Agriculture, but yet we have an agency for food, to the point whereby food means they look into the idea of food security in a lot of ways, in terms of hygiene as well as diversity of food sources. So which is why I say, when it comes to food rescuing, because it's actually not very hygienic, and also it has been past the expected consumption period of time. So the state has always been very against the idea. But you know, this trend of, you know, food rescuing have grown so big that the state has actually shifted their stand towards this, and you know, they acknowledge that this food rescuing is helping them solve one problem of waste, but also addressing the other issue of social needs in the society as well. So they are having a more softer stand towards this particular group or this effort, although there are still I would say main vendors like restaurants or bakeries or any other food selling places. There's still a stigma in them, because many of them we approach, they do not want to do it because of liability issues. Yeah.
I mean, actually, I was like landscape trained, so like I was landscape architecture trained. Then I was doing my internship right after my degree. So I was interning under arborists, so people who study trees. So what their job was assigned to was that like through all this mapping, of course, like at that time, it was like almost 10 years ago. It wasn't this advanced, so we still have some kind of record of where the trees are, and we have to check the health, like their narrative or like their motive to track that was actually at first was for like safety lah. What we were informed is like to see the tree health, whether they are healthy or not, because if you have been to Singapore, we have large canopies and things like that, so we have to check the health of the tree to monitor the environment in case of any hazard and things like that. That's why if you stay in Singapore, you will see that like there's always maintenance on the tree in itself, so they are trimming the tree or things like that. And not only mapping those tree, like how this is, but we have like we will install what's that called, lighting, what is that called, 地雷针是什么？忘了。
Lightning rod.
Yeah, something like that, because Singapore is also a very lightning heavy like area, so we have to protect
the world.
yeah, so that's, and then the other weird thing was that, like, actually I asked Tian before, who's another activist who talk about community gardening. Like, he didn't mention gardening, but community gardening, because I know that from MPark, I still have a lot of my classmates that works in MPark or the urban planning side. So they were one of my classmate last time, he's studying what's that called, land management, and he's working under MPark. So what they were actually studying is actually how all these community movement are in terms of like gardening and things like that. Why do they study that? Is that they study this sort of decentralized organizations so that they can incorporate it into their urban planning, which is a very common practice in landscaping and urban planning. Like, for example, a very good illustration is that sometimes we plan a park. When we first built it, we only plan the, actually, Ivan might be able to share more because he's also a landscape architect, right? But we only plan the bare minimum, like maybe we just have turf, we just map the existing tree or what to take out, what not to, and then we let the community incorporate their action into it and observe how people are using the park or using that space itself. And then the planning will be incremental like that. So we observe what people do and then we plan things according to what we observe. Which I see that Singapore is doing more and more of that, maybe because a lot of my classmates are like practicing more too. And that we see like even playground, we will have renovation of playground every few years. So that, and then also I know that is it somewhere near Punggol or Sembawang? I forgot, or either Jurong, that they are planning the a new town, and they plan it according to this like forest theme, there's like gardening theme, like not gardening, they use the word agriculture. So the facility within the HDB is like they have area for people to do community gardening and things like that. But yeah, I mean, just weirdly like things that I remember talking to my schoolmates and following up with, and that, oh yes, and that when another activist was talking about community gardening, so I asked him, actually your effort is successful, like now the government take notice of you and incorporating what you are doing, what you are self-organizing into the policy. But what do you think about that? Like, because yeah, maybe I can ask you, okay, what if one day like, oh, there's like the state acknowledge what you do and then try to organize what it is?
Well, actually, um, town councils, I mean, states are actually acknowledging them. I mean, I just shared the link about this particular person. Interestingly, his efforts has been acknowledged as well. He was documenting it as a diary, how he go about doing it illegally, and then eventually he kind of stopped doing it, and then he kind of went through the procedures of it. Having said that as well, of course, the kind of success rate of people acknowledging it, like so-called legalizing it, as you were saying it, right, is still very low, because after all they are more concerned with they still want to have the whole urban planning within their control. Yeah, they will say like, okay, we can allocate you this other land and whatever, like you say, community gardening as well. But this is also one thing that I guess myself included, and quite a number of people I know who basically try to avoid community gardening for one very big reason, is because of politics going on in community gardens. When you're that means in a community garden, right, you are given a different plot, right? So there are different members, and there will be a lot of politics within the members, like, hey, that your plants are overgrowing into my plot or whatever, and then fights happen. And that is one of the very main reason why, when I saw this plot of land which was maintained by these two ladies, I asked them, hey, why did you all decide to grow this here, and you don't want to grow in the community garden, which is actually fenced up? Because also when it's fenced up, your produce will not be like stolen by passerbys, whereas if she's growing in this plot of land, it's very open air. People steal all your products, which, yeah, they have been stealing what my father has been trying to grow, the papayas, the chilies. But my dad doesn't really care. For him, it's just a pleasure of him. He just enjoys growing it because he grew up as a farmer himself. But having said that, yeah, like I said, one of the reasons why some people are avoiding community gardens, which is the legal gardens, is mainly because of the politics within as in the politics not about with the state, but the politics within people. Yeah, and yeah.
Kind of politics, yeah. What else was I thinking? Yeah, like, oh yes, the question I asked Tian that time was that, do you see that as a success lah? But I mean that you answered that already, like you don't know, I guess.
I don't know. For me, whenever I do this, I don't see it as a success or not a success, but really more as a way of, I mean, maybe you can say a challenging and also seeking an alternative way of being in Singapore, especially because I mean, for the context of most of you all, I mean, probably you might know that Singapore is an extremely controlled environment. Uh, so for me, it's like, or maybe a lot of artists also, they are trying to find ways of freedom. So this is for me a way of getting free from it. Like, yeah, there's this grass patch. Why can't I grow things out of here? And it's a way of being rebellious in a still in a legal context. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you define as success or not lah. It doesn't mean
Sometimes you're like, in a sense, you're advocating for something and then it's happening in a different manner.
yeah, maybe I guess. But it's something that it's not in my mind when I'm doing that. For me, it's just, of course, as I kind of shared earlier on, why I do this is really coming from a very kind of waste reducing perspective at first, and then how this effort slowly evolved and expanded into different horizons of kind of, first of all, understanding surrounding environment, and then secondly, understanding who are the people on the ground, as well as the beneficiaries of all this yeah, I mean, in terms of food rescuing. And then in the case of this guerrilla gardening, you also realize you meet different people, people who are not into the way that the state wants you to be, or go into community gardening. But they are these people, this group of people who are finding other ways of existing in outside of the system of Singapore. Yeah.
Definitely understood. Yeah. Any other comment? No.
No, thanks for the presentation. I was wondering if have you been met with any kind of governmental interventions when it comes to guerrilla gardening or dumpster diving?
For me, not yet. Maybe because I'm just so good at evading all these people. But yeah, not yet. I mean, I guess two separate cases as well. I mean, first of all, when it comes to kind of food rescuing, like I mentioned, there are already food rescuing. There are also guerrilla rescuing and also like coordinated rescuing. So guerrilla rescuing, literally just going to the dumpster to get it. Those times, it has not happened for me before, where I haven't encountered any like government agencies whatsoever. On the other hand, when coordinated food rescuing, you are just talking to the vendors, and so they are aware of the legal implications. But then we try our utmost effort to convince them that we are not giving we are giving to different people, and what we'll do is we'll actually remove the labels, so as to when we distribute, and we'll never disclose your source. So that is a way of convincing them to say that, okay, we are protecting your legal rights. Should there be any food poisoning whatsoever, we tell them that you don't need to worry, we all will take full responsibility of it, because that's the biggest thing that food vendors are very afraid of when they are passing on all this food, you see. So and all these have always been a very private agreement, a kind of underground agreement. Some of these even like especially when we approach bakeries, some of these people, some of the staff, they are actually doing without their bosses knowing as well. So it's like a guerrilla on a guerrilla level, because they are very aware that their bosses would not agree to it because of liability issues, and they're not on the ground. They don't know, like, oh, who are these people? What do they want to do? Is it charity or whatever? Not and there have been one case study I heard before where someone took this bread and go and resell it. That's the only time I've heard of it out of so many years of rescue and subscribing.
Oh yeah, I remember because it's related to my thesis. Basically, what's the argument against like self-organization or like decentralization was that it's actually what you are doing is actually processing waste as well as redistributing resources in your own accord, right? Like grassroots level, which what a lot of sociologists thinks that it should be the effort should be from above, from state, like from top down, like is the government's, or in a welfare state lah, it's the government's responsibility to be taking care of people in different class and different, like even to the food waste and all that is what we pay the tax for. Like that's what like a lot of Western or like the more left kind of party will talk about, like especially in new labor era in UK. So actually what the critique for like actually Singapore, they encourage a lot of like state charity or like grassroots community to actually decentralize and solve this problem on our own. A lot like how Hong Kong deals with it as well. But for Hong Kong, it's because the absence of it, like government do not care. So we have to, like all these grassroots organizations have to step in and care for them. But in Singapore, it's more like they are quite consciously offloading this responsibility to different organizations. That's why they also have a lot of fund to grants to give out to this type of ground up using the not the organization, but ground up initiatives like different. So yeah, lor.
Well, I mean, that's interesting because at least the community that I work with, none of them take any funding at all from any of these government agencies. It's really all self-organized within the community. And like I mentioned, because they are really people from all walks of life, that they manage to mobilize different type of people, people with cars, because if you own a car in Singapore, you offer certain financial capability, and yet they can mobilize these people as well. And I think also answering the other part of the question is above is you were saying whether I encounter other so-called like encounters with government agencies when I'm doing all this, right? When I talk about, if I move on to like guerrilla gardening, I would say no, I do not encounter them personally face to face, but it definitely has happened before whereby when you plant certain plants in some of these plots, the next day you would go there, it's gone.
I think Part went to talk to me, have a meeting.
Oh, are you okay?
I'm curious, is it legal or illegal to plant the unknown plant in Singapore?
Unknown plant as in like suspicious seed, is it?
Kind of, or any in the way without permission.
Yes, it is illegal, but it's very hard to catch, I guess. I guess it's illegal everywhere because I don't think any place would like invasive species coming into their own environment. Yeah. I mean, definitely illegal in Singapore, but I guess it's really very hard to catch in a sense, because I think another practice that is very common is like releasing of like animals, or rather fishes, in the reservoirs and the ponds in this, especially on Vesak Day, which is a Buddhist holiday. Yeah, so that happens a lot as well. So yeah, it's definitely illegal. It has been stated that do not release all these animals, but people still do it, although the practice is getting less these days because people are aware that you are actually damaging the environment as well, especially among the younger generations. Yeah.
So it's I feel it's interesting for me compared to the decentralization. It used to be used centralized. It turns then the what things that you do is probably still under the system of a centralization, but without the investigation, or is find an alternative way to try to display or disclosure the way of the decentralization. In Singapore, I mean, but probably in Taiwan or in other countries, in other cities have a different policy. Because Singapore is very special for me. Like everything just need to be monetized, similar to in China. You have so many cameras, so everything else are monetized by your neighborhood.
Monetize.
Monetized or be
Monitor
as well. Yeah.
Monitor or monetize?
Monitor and monetize as well. Too, both.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. That argument was meandering, but like it's not directly the government giving fund to ground up. Like they do that too, but in another way is that to cultivate this culture. Like for example, NEA, like we don't have a comprehensive waste management system, but we always socialize the idea that we have to save the earth and be green. That kind of way. So the guilt was felt by you. It's like, oh, as the individual, we have to do something. It's not the government that needs to do something like that. You know, that argument was, and they do that very, very often. Like, from different policy, and it's definitely polluting our cultural funding lah. But yeah lah.
Oh, so is that Singapore government used to educate citizens to act their behavior like this?
For my research wasn't about food waste or recycling, but it was about OH, because for cultural policy or grants, we gave a lot of different organizations or individuals who do program or do things about OH. So like sometimes it's like how to age well, how to be active when you're aging. So that's actually an effort for them to offload their. It's supposed to be the government who has set up facility or like the system to take care of the old, right? But we socialize the idea that we have to be the one take care of our old elders, like that kind of thing. And the funds are given through like other channel, not something that, oh, I want to fund I mean they do fund like a silver age, like some kind of old folks program directly, but they also do that through cultural funding. Yeah. Oops. But anyway, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing I always want to ask. So yes, you are doing this. So you wanted it to be successful on your own, but not by the state. But yeah, like that dynamic is like strange to me. It's like, because if you want systemic change, you kind of need the state to do something. But
Oh, okay. I mean, I think I get what you mean in the terms of like successful lah. Well, I mean, I've been approached to go on board like negotiation panels or tables with government agencies to address this. But then the thing, like this idea of food waste and whatever not lah. But I guess I don't know. I just feel maybe I'm too extreme on the side, whereby seeing all these ways and whatnot, right? I realize the only way really to really stop this is to consume less, which I think is a problem that is happening among developing and also developed nations a lot, because suddenly we just have so much capacity, resources that, well, we can spend them. Why not spend it? We just spend it. And yeah, I mean, this is a bit disturbing for me, but I mean, I'm also of no position to take away the right of people to spend. whatever they want to, they feel like. And for me, I have just exposing myself to all this abundance of resources, food, or even other items. In fact, a lot of the things in my room right now are furniture, clothes, and whatever not. In fact, the clothes I'm wearing right now is also dumpster dive. In fact, the things that I dumpster dive is even better than my own quality, the own clothes that I have, you see. So I just realized yeah, people need to be more aware of what they consume and what kind of waste they create. But I guess this is something that can't happen overnight. And like you say, yes, it needs a systematic change. And I guess the systematic change in this is really more on the side of education, uh, rather than what I'm doing, because I believe that whatever I'm doing, food rescuing and dumpster diving, and I always use this analogy, is that we food rescuers, we are constantly fighting a fire that is bigger than any of us firefighters can fight, because the bigger fire is the systematic problem. And whatever we're doing, we're just responding to it. Like you say, the system needs to change on its own, uh, like education. And personally, I even have this other thought as well, which actually have been implemented in, correct me if I'm wrong, in some Western nations, which is garbage tax. Of course, this idea has been floated before in the parliament in Singapore, and it draw a lot of criticism.
Mm.
Yeah. So because sadly to say, I don't know whether does it only apply to Singaporeans or even anyone in the world, as long as there's monetary tax or monetary penalty involved, then that's when people will start to, oh, okay, we try to reduce this, we try to be a bit careful with it. Because if you want to rely just on purely consciousness to correct certain behavior, it will take decades, which is what we kind of slowly seeing, at least in Singapore. It's like, oh, people start saying like, oh, using plastic is very bad, but it took at least 2 to 3 decades before people really seeing it. And I believe Singaporeans are not the first. It is a global movement or global awareness that people start to realize this. Then Singapore kind of join in the bandwagon and say, oh, okay, yeah, we need to take care of, we need to reduce plastic and so on and so forth. So
Another older case study is actually Japan. Like we see Japan as a very clean, very how to say frugal kind of society, right? It wasn't like that. Like it was very dirty, very messy, and the government imposed very, very strict. I think in Taiwan to how you deal with waste, but
It took around 30 years to educate,
but
and until nowadays, the government tried in order to educate people, don't throw the garbage away. They took off the bin from the pavement. That's how the Taiwanese government done before.
Japan, and but you know what is the sad part about Japan is that their consumption didn't drop at all.
Yeah.
And it really led to cases of hoarding. So the mess is internalized, is privatized.
Yeah.
You go into a Japanese home, maybe you will see. That's why I mean there's the popular Netflix show, right? What's that? Marie Kondo, I think.
so yes.
In some kind of economy, but it didn't really solve the consumption problem.
That show gave me multiple tsunamis when I'm dumpster diving. After that show came out, right, it's like usually there are peak days where whenever I'm dumpster diving, there are peak days where I can rescue things. Usually it is on a Sunday night, weekend nights, because weekends are the time where people really start clearing their homes. But then when that Marie Kondo came, oh, every day was a tsunami. I tell you, it was disaster. To the point whereby the things I rescue, I was like, oh, really, I have no space. I mean, it's also creating a kind of family tension in my home, because I'm bringing things back to distribute away. And I mean, my mother is already kind of hoarder. Even she was like saying, "You stop bringing things back," like, and yeah, so which is why I say the very root of the problem is people need to understand whatever they're consuming, how they're consuming is the resources they are spending is really very uh, very wasteful. And also definitely these days with pandemics where there are food deliveries. Oh my God, that is another.
Actually, as a person that from a commerce or manufacturing trade, like that's my family business. And actually, what's the real problem is actually capital. How we do our marketing and things like that. It's the fact that we place the value different, like wrongly. So things are way too cheap. Like at what expense? Actually, I mean, of course, like yeah, that's actually one main big elephant in this room. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know how decentralization can mitigate that, like, and how can it play into this whole, like, yeah, economy basically. Yeah, distribution economy. But yes, the person that proposed decentralization as our topic, Pei, would you like to input your point of view about decentralization so we can contextualize some more, because it's like going all direction now.
Oh my God. But it seems decentralization terms become trendy nowadays based on the big blockchain invented. So this is how the power of the politics we distribute again. This is based on the economic terms. But then back to the ecology side, I think now the I don't know, the whole global system is discussing about the sustainability. And before that, I think how to decentralize it is a way to release, to release or to, I don't know how to say, to allocate the power again so that we can find the sustainability.
I don't know. I mean, seeing seeing what I've seen, which I've repeated so many times, the really the best ways to kind of to deter people from kind of consuming more is to like what Winnie was saying about Japan, internalizing that problem. So it's like deal with your own trash, you bring in, you create that much trash, you have to do it yourself. And rather than, of course, what we know as today's, which is a lot of first world countries exporting the trash to third world countries to
immense stress on each individual.
Yeah, but only then people will awaken and realize, oh, how much trash I'm creating, because I myself, I'm doing that, and I still try to remain committed in doing that guerrilla composting in my guerrilla gardening. Then I realized, wow, every day is really one big bag of organic trash. Then you realize how much trash you're creating, and because through that, then you realize why there's so much waste. Yeah, of course, not everybody is like me, where I'm so conscious. I mean, a lot of my peers who are like, oh, whatever, just take and throw, take and throw. Basically, the common saying is out of sight, out of mind, which is very, very valid. And I guess it's also the same when it comes to, when people are I have a lot of people, other people in the gardening network saying that once you start growing your own food, then you realize how important food is, and then that's also how you start cherishing food and stop throwing food away, which is definitely something that we need to imbue into the minds of people in Singapore, because the amount of food waste is, I mean, the statistics are there to show. I don't know how many thousands of tons every year. So yeah, but I mean, of course there's no real solution. It will forever be an ongoing problem. But like you say, are the ways to mitigate it? Is really hopefully through a more softer approach by doing what I'm doing, and then more and more people are like what Ipe is saying. It's like this decentralization is becoming like a trend already, like a mainstream. People are looking at it, and so perhaps this could help raise a bit more awareness to people, and not in our generation, but hopefully by the next generation, we can. I mean, it will be too late.
Actually expand a little bit, like when Ipe say like blockchain. So what is the blockchain's imperative to like decentralize was that actually taking power away from places that power are centralized, right? Like because blockchain, like if you talk about crypto, like this whole very romantic idea of like, oh, we can redistribute money or resources ourselves, kind of thing. So which, yeah.
In the beginning, it's the currency system is bundled by the bank, central bank or our national bank, and every time when we transfer or doing the transaction across the border, the middle bank always charge a lot of money. So that's why this kind of the system is rebuilt up. Can we jump the middleman, and we can have the direct communication or direct transaction person to person. Yeah. So I guess the decentralization, it can be addressed either person to person, nation to nation, community to community, or become more peer to peer. That is in alternative way. Yeah.
The tech notion also same lah. Open source, open platform, P2P, or like think about how movie were distributed and how we use torrent. That's a way of decentralization. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but yes, great effort. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
And any more question from please Ivan and Yushen? Or like don't have to be question and be sharing, you know. Is this only?
This is Huazi.
They're not sleeping today. They got quiet. They like the presentation.
Yeah, she's enjoying. She's sleeping on my lap and listen to the presentation. Anya, would you like to say something? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Hi, Anya.
Well, hi. No, I think.
Okay.
That's not introduction.
I just joined.
So what do you
但是等我回话吗？我刚才有点断线。
不用。
也可以。
介绍一下我本人吗？
对
好啊，好，欢迎。不想
怎么
要也没关系，不想要也没关系。
哦，对，没关系。
嗨，那我是必须要用英文吗？
对，用英文。
没有用中文也可以，我会讲
啊。没有，他英文很好，他英文很好。没有讲。不要
这样，我看一整天会。
啊。
Dance also can. I don't know. 你好。
你好，就是我是主人公是曼君，然后一佩的朋友这样。就是一佩请我就是稍微旁听之后，看看能不能推荐台湾有在关心这类议题的艺术家，所以我就半途加入了这个对话的。
你要跟他翻译吗？Ivan 完全听不懂到他在
讲。我听到他，好，我对不起。
Anya is Ipei's friend, so Ipei invited her to tune in, and also with a cat. That she have like other friends in Taiwan. This friend that she can recommend to like join in next time or like tune into our discussion.
Yeah, Anya is working on Bamboo Curtain Studio. I know Ari know Bamboo very well. So Anya is another members now working there. So Bamboo Curtain Studio is a very experienced artist residency program in Taiwan as well. They just celebrate the 25th year anniversary.
You didn't say the most important thing. And we're going to shut down this year.
Yeah, but Bamboo Curtain Studio has many case study for the environment case or artist program that can, I think maybe not next time, not this time, next time if you're free. you can jump out any ideas.
Ari say so sad. Why are you sad?
Hi, why are you
Ari is from Jadiwangi. Very, very close
Oh,
friend with Bamboo. Yeah.
Wait, are you going to tell us why you're sad, or you just gonna leave the sad face here? Ari, why are you sad? Are you
Yeah. Yeah, because like I mean this is already long, like more than 20 years. So and then like maybe yeah, but I think it's better also for to take a bit rest, yeah. But yeah, no, not that sad, that, but just like yeah, maybe good also to starting another things like for there's member, yeah. So but yeah, sad because sometimes there can for the people is for friend in Taiwan, like this is the bamboo is a place to also is it they sharing studio, they have together the people, and then like to also to making some experimentation for yes so many things there. But when stop, like not not making something again, like sometimes my friend also not mine, like they are a bit like longing like that, yeah. Something like that. Yes.
Yeah, recently there are so many experience alternative art space is going to close, especially during the pandemic. They decided it's not just one case or two cases in Taiwan. So I think it's in very
substation Singapore?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But anyway.
Oh, Jalan Besar Salon is still here. You don't know? Still here?
Yeah, so I think for the next talk we're gonna share some materials either with the academic perspective or other artistic research or project, so that we can keep it evolving or discovering or exploring your own your project with this perspective.
I think it's a bit hard to digest, and then I will see how your proposal or your research can align.
It won't be harder than Patch, I think.
Patch was easy. Come on, like look at all their presentations. Like everyone's like naturals. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just using Singlish to this one. But no, I mean, I'm sure like migrations will be easy. I feel we are all kind of like nomads, right? But decentralization might be the tricky one. But it can just be, I mean, this doesn't have to be like super related to your project, maybe just sharing. I don't know, write a poem, like, I don't know.
Or even against. it's okay.
Against it, yes, things like that. Like what I just said. Decentralization is just a way of like, taking things from top down, but then helping them to do their job. Are you sure? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate, but yes.
Yeah, but I'm really happy to see the 那个 Hao Pei's project, especially in the SEM, because I think this kind of the social issue or public issue is very rare in Singapore. To see the artists can implement a certain of these social issues with the artists with the artists.
Hey, are you doing this in SEM?
I am I mean, a different topic, not. I mean, it's not really what I just presented. In fact, yeah, that project. I'm trying to address issues of seed sovereignty, and also the complexity, and definitely a form of decentralization as well. And this is something that is a continuation from my residency in Yogyakarta 2 years ago. In 2019, I was at Chermati doing a residency there. So I long story short, I got acquainted with this farming collective who basically inspired me to continue to do this project. And in fact, now I'm also working with them currently for a project in Indonesia itself, because I got a different grant, so I'm working with them. And because of current pandemic restriction, travel restriction, I can't be there to realize it with them. So we are doing a lot of communication and correspondence and addressing these issues of like kind of farming and seed sovereignty issues lah. Of course, I try to also do that. I am also extending that topic for the SEM residency, which is kind of is a large project, but I'm extending it to different platforms, let's say. However, I have to admit, which is why when you asked me how is my SEM residency, I'm very stuck because this is a topic that I find Singaporeans are extremely detached from, because also something I already mentioned in just now, the sharing and discussion, because Singapore is not a place where we are dealing with any production. So when we production of food, production of be it poultry, meat, or maybe say any vegetables, or vegetables to a small extent, yes, but rice, which is but because since my project is mainly looking at rice, seed sovereignty in the context of rice, in Singapore it is very difficult to bring that connection.
When you say seed sovereignty, and I only have a very archaic concept of like when we keep heirloom seeds.
Yeah.
So, and how we keep the variety of different seeds alive, and like against the the monetized kind of seed distribution. Is it that?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely around that. I mean, that the whole idea of seed sovereignty came about mainly because of the whole Green Revolution, which has happened in the late 50s and 60s, which also coincided with the Cold War. Definitely, the Green Revolution contributed to the whole political saga of the Cold War as well, and rice is actually one of this particular crop that came into the frame in the Southeast Asia region, not just Southeast Asia region, but predominantly Southeast Asia, and also some other nations in Asia as well, because of this particular this hybrid seeds that was invented called miracle rice. Actually, yeah, I guess Winnie, you know a bit more since you saw my show at the substation. Although I know you were very clueless on what I was doing. It's okay, but because there were just too many layers, and that whole hybrid seeds has basically damaged the whole farming system, or at least rice farming system in most of my research is only focusing on Southeast Asia, in Southeast Asia, and again, I'm not saying the entire Southeast Asia because it's also very extensive, but there are two main countries that embrace these seeds where their farmlands are heavily polluted these days, which is Indonesia and Philippines. Yeah,
Oh, I saw that it's Thailand. Oh.
yeah.
In Mexico also, but for them it's the corn.
I guess so. I'm not so sure about that, but definitely, basically, the whole green revolution is part of it, and the the stake that was at risk in Southeast Asia is because of rice, because rice is the rice farming, because rice is the biggest staple in Asia and also Southeast Asia. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, with that, we are really trying to look at the issues of seed sovereignty, like why is there this movement of rediscovering, kind of re-looking back at local wisdom and preserving local seeds, and again, while certain again, kind of, well, we can also may perhaps link this to decentralization, is that, like you say, the heirloom seeds, families have been passing down seeds, which is still being preserved today in uh, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I know of some farmers' families in Java in Indonesia, they do that. However, uh, also 2 years ago, the government tried to pass a bill to enforce that farmers are no longer allowed to keep seeds on their own. It's illegal. However, the enforcement wasn't very strong, so it has kind of up in the air as of now. However, the idea of seed sovereignty is still very much a pretty concerned issue, I would say. Yeah, but like I say, I mean, this topic of seed sovereignty and idea of preserving seeds and whatnot is very relevant to countries where agriculture is a big part uh, of the country, you see. Whereas in Singapore, where we almost practically have not much. Yeah.
I need to go first. So bye.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Ivan.
Sorry for interrupting you. Just send a message that I have to leave right now, but I will keep in touch, and thank you all of you. Thank you. It was very nice to hear you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
See you.
See you.
Bye.
I was looking forward to his input.
Oh,
South
no.
American is like crazy about agriculture and how the seed sovereignty, as well as India actually.
Yeah. India is the biggest, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I guess that's how I am. I mean, I'm also linking. Definitely, the whole idea of seed and politics plays a very big part, and what is this seed sovereignty is about is also another topic.
Have you talked to any horticulture scientists or like people who actually? Because I know that most of them actually has a what you call revolution kind of 中文叫什么？天哪，革命情感。Because they go into the trade of horticulture to change the industry.
Yeah.
Solve the food problem. What they have in their mind to feed everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I am currently working with actually a local rice company. Interestingly, on that. Of course, all this is like what you say. They have the idea of trying to correct a broken system, a broken food system. Trying to change this and that, and this is also one problem I find with maybe say Singapore companies or Singapore individuals, perhaps myself included, perhaps, is that we try to go in and we try to provide this alternative product or seed, thinking that it will help them. But then it is also a way of it could be also read as a way of a first world country, imposing certain things on them, like trying to solve their problems. You see, I think the other issue is also on for the interest of Singapore. In fact, the Temasek Foundation. The Temasek Foundation is this government-associated foundation which has a lot of resources. They even invented and patented one of their rice. It's called Temasek rice as well. It even went on to the news. The whole feature of it, talking about what is this rice, why is it good, and they obviously they only talk about why is it good, you know, it has high yields and so on and so forth. So that is also something very, very interesting, and in today's context, and especially the fact that it is coming from a Singapore company, you know, Singapore paid the R&D uh, money to do this, you know, is obviously it is for the interest of Singapore to get food diversity, food security in the first place, but it's also a very big political agenda behind it in that sense. Yeah. And which is why I say the seed sovereignty has kind of shifted quite a bit, you know, from the early stage, like I mentioned, in the late 50s and 60s, when this rice seed, you know, they were talking about this is about achieving rice sufficiency, which means food sufficiency for these poor nations. Whereas in today's term, it is more about food security, not, so that means shifting from food sufficiency to food security. Meaning to say you want something that is more diverse, you want something that is not just creating a huge amount of food, but also oh,
Bye.
yeah.
Bye. See you soon.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Thank you for your presentation, Hao Pei, and hope to see what you do with the SAM residency. Yeah. Thanks, Ipe. Thanks, Winnie. Speak
Yeah,
soon. Sorry, I have
thanks,
to
Liz.
go.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
I will. Okay, bye.
Bye, bye,
Bye,
bye.
Alex.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye, Ari. Bye, Anya.
Bye-bye.
Ah.
Yeah, I think I've spoken enough.
No,
But you get the idea. Well, I mean, what I'm looking at this idea of seed sovereignty is the shift is moving from food sufficiency to food security these days. So
very, very important thing. Like we are too detached from the means of production. Like talk about food lah. Actually, we can feed ourselves, but we can't.
yeah, which is why I'm struggling so much with this SAM residency in how am I trying to bridge this towards the Singapore audience. It's like no matter how I'm conceptualizing, thinking, you know, trying to also work with this local company to create this thing, we realize the relationship between Singaporeans or and not just rice, just any food, you know, it's just consuming, it's just a consumption product.
How about, you know, in Hong Kong or in other city, there's like urban bee farm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in Hong Kong it's also a little bit different because Hong Kong there's still a very clear rural-urban divide. Like the rural areas are really very rural, you know, where they really still have farms and yeah, the way of living, the pace is very different. But whereas in Singapore, I guess it's almost homogenized in a way. Everybody is kind of living in a very similar manner, and yeah, you don't really get people really talking about or growing food, you know. Yeah, growing for fun, yes, you know, growing at their own balcony, yeah, that's very common. But you know, growing it for consumption and whatnot is something that is definitely not in within the psyche of Singaporeans or anyone in Singapore, I would say. Yeah.
Rice is almost impossible.
Yeah.
I think it's also a representation of the Singapore. It's very rely on the exposure, and it's hard to rethink about how to grow the food in the beginning of the way to appreciate or how to sustain or to preserve any of the nature resource.
I know how. We can have worm farm. Worms. And then we also can lab grown meat. We have our own lab. Sorry. Crazy idea. We can't do farm, let's do chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, I guess.
Yay.
But that's such an interesting supply chain from the Singapore and extend to the Southeast Asia or in Asia.
Is it illegal that we go to the JP and farm and then we bring the food back?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's illegal. I mean, yeah. As long as you don't bring in one truck of produce into Singapore without declaring, then I think it's fine. People do grocery shoppings in JB also, you know. So yeah.
That's interesting. I will think more and
No.
share other ideas with Winnie or with you later.
Yeah, feel free to join our future section also if you're free. I mean,
Yeah.
I will add you into the. We have a main group chat on WhatsApp that like sometimes we talk about like, oh, when is our next meeting, and then what are the topic we talk about, and what are the lexicon, things like that. I'll add it. I'll add you into it if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Great.
Thank you. Okay.
Doing.
Huh? What? So
是在 decentralized 啊，不是吗？你 like I am I'm quite anti-institution, so yeah. Anyway.
I don't think it's too anti central. I don't know how because when let's say if you are an outsider and you try to build up the new community or a different to empower your community, then you will become in the insider one day. And how will you distribute your own power again? So this is become a circular ecosystem. Then the decentralization is yeah, it's not easy to discuss in some way, or it's decentralized in Asia, but probably it's another centralization in Europe or somewhere.
It's an interesting like family thing that we do. My grandma always like bring like bag of seeds, right, with her, like I don't know, dubious seeds, like maybe from a garden, whatever, and then she will just wherever she goes, she just scatter it there, like just throw some seed onto some land. What?
That's guerrilla. Area also a form.
Yeah, this is our family practice, you know, like last time we grew ice, like we got some ice house seed or like whatever, because when we cook, right, we will save the seed also. Like those seed we also throw it anywhere. That kind of thing.
I also do another project with a Taiwanese artist that we used to do the project abroad, and we try to steal some plant and bring it back to Taiwan to the greenhouse and grow it, but privately.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. I mean, I'm also doing it with my guerrilla gardening. I don't plant it intentionally, but whatever seeds that I throw, and then it just grow out of it. You know, a lot of random things. There's pansu, sweet potato. There's pumpkins. There's chili, durian. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of random things. In fact, we also talk about this idea of taking seeds. I mean, this is a little bit of a digression, but something very interesting. On a newspaper report, someone was caught growing weed in Singapore.
Like
seed sovereignty, you know, preserving the seed, but obviously I don't know how the person got caught. Someone must have backstabbed him.
It saw the light, like, oh my god, your house will look like a discotheque. Yeah, but yes, incorporate that into your daily life. Just anyhow throw some seed into the garden, like, and park.
Yeah, there are many plants in my guerrilla garden that I don't know what are they, and they look very interesting.
Nice. I'll go visit your farm one day.
Visit the farm in Sam.
Oh, there's a farm in Sam?
Can I?
You sure there is not?
Sam has no space right now. Not yet.
How about the outside, the small balcony area? can just throw some seeds.
Yeah, I'll help you. I was like, oh wow, hey, what's that?
Or you try to put some seed behind the painting.
Yeah, nice one. Oh my god, I built transnational smuggling already. Imagine the painting goes somewhere else. It's like,
Yes.
then you send inside the cert, right? Like the insurance, behind the insurance, they send another paper. Please open this packet to be a seed.
No. You know, there's some techniques that people will compile the seed with the fabric or with the paper. So in the beginning, without the watering, so it's still in the still condition. So you can put this thing into maybe in the same libraries or put in some of the catalogs and people randomly pick up or just
and fun fact is he's working in the library, so maybe he have all the access.
Yeah. So it's not by the human, but it's by the nature itself. It's automatically grow up.
Oh, guys. But I mean, yeah, crazy ideas, but yes, we can do it. You do it. Should we do it? Yeah, it's insane, man. Yeah. But if you got caught in Australia, you are so
Definitely.
Don't do it in Australia, guys. Disclaimer here. Don't do it in Australia. That's all. Yes. Anywhere else but Australia and New Zealand, maybe no. You'll get into serious trouble.
Okay, so are we good today?
We good? Are we good? Are we good? Let's sex on it. Yeah. 宇轩、宇秀，你们还在吗？
你们还活着吗？
怎么样？你们什么都没说呢，讲讲吧，一句两句。
哦，我们在讲说，就是我们两个对他做的事情感觉到非常的，就是好像是另一个生态环境里，所以我一直在听你们讲，然后我就觉得很好玩。
其实以中国来讲 ，decentralization 我最 and urban planning 最 interested 的是我们的叫什么浅见啊，就是我们你知道吗？知道我在讲什么吗？就是我们随便乱建东西，就加盖的东西。
违建啊？
违建对，但是广东话就是钱就是在 stack up，
就像盖乐高一样，一个一个这样加上去。
因为我们那边是真的在广东啦，真的会我们会拿那个 what's that called 那个
铁皮屋吗？
不是铁皮屋就是我可能今天就觉得我的 balcony a bit empty. I want to add a house on top of my balcony. Then they will just do it. And then the next day, the government will come with a machine and push it away. But then the next day they will do something again, and they alter another design and do it again. Like it's this constant negotiation with the authority on how they want to build the house, because it's extremely strict to how you moderate a house. Hey, thanks, Ari.
Yeah.
就好像你们之前 share 的那个 video， 你们去那个 Merchant Town 来，那个然后你们不是有那个用 drone 来拍的那个 video 吗？然后你可以看得到那个它的上层就是那些屋子是怎么建的，其实那边就很多浅间的东西，对。
都其实也有很多，然后之前有一个新闻特别搞笑，就是说，我们这边就是特别喜欢自己弄花园嘛，但是又没有地可以弄，然后就会弄到阳台上，或者是那种就是一栋楼的那个屋顶。然后就是有一个退休教师，他太热衷于花园了，他把他花园上面建了一个那种就 pagoda 那种塔，然后就是太显眼了，然后招来当局注意，立刻让他拆掉。
我觉得其实拆掉这个还不是什么，而是拆完第二天他又建那里才厉害，好不好？好像感觉就没事。拆完了是吗？你拆完没有？你拆完了我又建，又拆，那才妙好吗？
那他就会被抓去警察局报好几回了吧？
也没有抓去警察局，他们就是拆而已，他顶多就做。
不会被抓到警察局，因为大家都在做这种事情。
真的。
然后就是我们现在住的这个是一个老居民小区嘛，就是那个街区都非常老，然后我们对面那个街区，就是我们对面那栋楼也很老，然后就是它有一个顶层是我不知道是怎么搞的，反正就是说那个顶层那个空间它是围起来的，就是类似于那种塑料布，然后变成了住在下面一层那户人家的一个锻炼场，所以每天晚饭之后，你看见他们就在顶层那边，在那个小的空间里就绕圈子走，就是特别搞笑，感觉变成了运动场，但它其实就是顶层一个非常小的房间，一直在走的走。
还有，我们家小区就广州那边，最搞笑是还吵架，浅建的人在吵架，就他已经建到别人的房子那边，还继续建，然后就有一种很怪的 architecture， 你就看到屋子这样，就是他们这样，好像感觉要打架还是什么，然后还真的是吵说，哎，你屋顶顶到我这边了，然后他就说继续顶，是这样子，很好。
然后这超好笑，就是还有我之前的工作室啊，也是那种矮房子，然后是2层楼，然后但是有一个顶楼，然后那个顶楼跟别人的房子就是它的2楼的阳台是连在一起的，所以我看过去的时候是一个屋顶，但是旁边有一个就是2楼的那个阳台，然后它就会从那个阳台出来，然后就跨到我们的顶楼。然后就来看说，哦，你们在干嘛？你们有种一些花花草草，然后就会问说，我可不可以来你这边晾衣服？因为我们那边超空的。
是南机场，上次我去那里。
对，就你上次来那个地方，然后就很奇妙。
对，还蛮好笑。有时候吵架，有时候就 make friend。哎，我已经在你能怎样？
对，或者是他可能有时候去回收厂，就是不小心看到那种很好的衣架，他就会搬来说，这个东西真的还可以用，还很好用，你们应该很缺吧？但是其实我们不缺。然后他搬来就是因为他很想要在这边晒他的衣服。
我好厉害，阿姨们真的很强，而且一问还问到你阳台上问有没有，你都不用出门。突然间，哎，你怎么在这？没关系。
对，然后这有时候就真的很尴尬，就因为艺术家曾经住在那边，然后上楼，然后就发现怎么顶楼有别人进来。
幸好我那时候没有，不然吓死我，我就会怎么打电话不打，然后我可能会装我不会中文，立刻讲一些什么有的，我讲话。
对啊，很好笑，
真的很妙啦 ，decentralization。我觉得 as Asian， 我们还蛮就一直会反抗吧，就是哎，你说不行，我就试试看。
对，我就要戳你的底线在哪里。
对，就是在测试你的底线，然后还要帮你把他的底线掰一下，还是这样。
对。
在中国大陆，就当时候我就听我爸爸那时候在那边工作了几年嘛，他就有跟我说，因为我不懂是不是南方的一种情景还是什么，就是有些比较富有的人，他们因为对就是外头的食物是完全没有信心的，他们就有一块地，就自己在那里开始种田，种鸡、种鸭，就是什么都自己种，然后他们所有对养这些动物来，然后菜也是自己种啊，然后因为他们对外面的食物完全没有信心，他们就什么食物都是从自己的那个农田里面都是吃的都是从
他就做这个事情。
我姑姑也是这样子，到现在还是这样子，
还做这个事情。
是啊，因为我不懂，我爸爸是跟我讲，在中国大陆就那时候他在哪里啊？番禺。
那不是我家咯。
我不懂是在那边还是广州的另外一部分啦。他就有说，就比较富有的一些人，他们有自己的农田啊，就请人来帮他们饲养啊，种田啊。
但是其实也不是有没有钱，因为其实番禺本身就是广州很大嘛，就其实我们还农耕，就是好像我 grandma 她就还是自己耕地啊，可以，她对土地的感情是不一样的，跟我们。他们还是觉得自己种的东西是自己的，对。然后为什么他很喜欢就是随便乱扔那个 seed，right？ 因为他可以说 他自己就长了嘛，他有一天回来他就可以采，然后别人也是过来采，然后有时候还吵架，就说你采太多了，明明这个 seed 是我放的，但这个地根本都不知道什么地来的，他就在河边有块地，然后在那边争个屁我不懂，然后很好笑吵架。但是我们对土地那个关系是觉得就能用啊，它反正就在那。对，所以 yeah but yes also it's because of food safety 是还是自己种的比较放心，你知道吗？
对对，吃的比较放心。
而且感觉是免费的嘛，你感觉你种了之后就是他讲说也免费，快点去吃。对啊，然后小时候我会去，
温妮你先说。
我小时候会回我 grandma 我外婆会带我回乡下，其实也没有多乡下，就是比较乡下的地方。然后我的 cousin 比较老的 cousin 就会带着我们这臭小孩城市小孩进去山里面采东西吃，然后就教你这个能吃，这个不能吃，还是怎样，就所有东西都是分成能不能吃。动物也是，这个能吃，这个不能吃。对。然后 we still have rifle gun， 小时候还是会有，现在已经不可以。就是我第一次碰到枪就是那个 air rifle， 用来打鸟，用打猎的。就是以前小时候
有，
现在应该不准了，因为有一段时间我看到我外公就把他们的枪给收起来，就藏起来，然后不用。Yeah, we still 然后也会教小孩，例如我们这些就怎样杀那个抓到的东西啊，什么还是有的。对。
我就想起来，就是我的老家，的确就是刚才不是说有钱人他们会自己种地嘛，就是觉得外面不干净啊什么之类的。我们那儿是因为是那种资源城市，就是油田，然后空气、水、土壤质量都非常差。然后我们那儿的就是我之前有做过一个短片，就是讲我们那里的领导们，他们会专门在就是我们家乡最好的一片土地上，然后开垦，然后做那个专门供给给领导们吃的那种食物，就是绿色蔬菜。然后他们就是会他们的司机就会每周去领，就是够领导这一家吃一周的食物，就到现在还是这个样子。
然后我就想到我们什么时候还有扫墓嘛，清明节的时候，那些祖先的墓都在很野的山里面，所以我们还要开垦，就是没有路的。我们就是我还记得我的外公，他拿着那个开山刀，然后他好像感觉很奇怪，他也不知道到底在哪里，但是他知道在哪里，就没有一个 map。然后我们就慢慢就带着一村人这样进去，还要扛着个烤猪，你知道吗？然后就开那个路进去，然后别的那些比较老的 cousin 就会叫我，这个能吃，这个不能吃，然后阿公在那边砍那个路进去那个的 cemetery， 那还蛮好笑的。但是 I mean 呀，现在应该比较难，但以前我小时候还有这种东西。然后你说领导有没有？领导什么都能做啊，那地就是他的 I guess。领导也就是 boss。而且领导我听我爸说了，就有时候我们就家里面会突然间有些很好的食物，然后就说就是别的地方的领导拿过来的还是什么的。真的有些还东北米，那我说东北米，东北很远呢。怎么来的？
说明你们家条件也不错啊。
开心，很 bless， 谈的不错。对，但是对啊，是，可能就是这个原因，所以才觉得。
恩雅问了我一个问题，他说没有，就是恩雅他说 他问我说我
因为
们是不
我中
是
途才进来，我有点就是到现在还是没有听懂你们主题到底是什么。
你才跟麦没有
我有猜，我有摸到边吗？一佩有吗？
我们其实就是 Clubhouse， 但是有图像的 Clubhouse， 因为我们在闲聊而已。然后现在要走就快走了。
是吗？我没有猜对哦，因为我听起来很像。
就是我觉得刚好就是其实安雅她问我们是不是在讨论一种战术都市主义，我觉得这个词用的蛮好的。
因为它是认真的词，不是我乱讲的。
对，它叫 tactical urbanism。
对，因为我前阵子去听了台湾大学的，我一直忘记他们全名叫什么，缩写是城乡所的课。然后那堂课就是在讲战略型的都市主义，它在城市中可以有什么样的功能，然后也有举到一些台湾的例子。所以我听完之后，我的感想是很像是在讲说某一些就是原本它设计要是一个公用，可是其实它对于都市里面的居民来说，它不是，就它没有符合这些需求，所以大家是以不同的方式来使用这些空间，然后它可能会呈现一种有点没有秩序的状态，但是那个状态其实才是所谓回归到人的需求，而不是空间设计的需求，是吗？
我觉得对豪培的那个 project 可能是有这样的呼应。
我什么都不知道，我就现在乱说，大家看得出来我现在很累吗？我整天都在面试实习生。对啊，对，如果我乱讲，大家就是听听好不好？
没有，你知道你知道这让我突然想到，就是我12月的时候，我曾经去参加一个说明会，它其实是上海在准备要办城市空间艺术节，然后他这次的 project 的名字叫做15 minutes in your life， 就是你的15分钟内的生活圈这件事情。然后呢，就是那个说明会其实里面他所带我们去用的那些空间全部是一个社区，然后那个社区不是美术馆，它可能是一个育幼中心，它可能是老人活动中心，然后它可能是一个传统市场，可是它即将被改建成一个可以变成是公共空间的剧场活动中心，然后它可能是以前是老人户外活动的地方，但是后来也被改建成就是可以来下棋的这种里民活动中心。然后他就带我们去参观了一个社区，然后那个社区是差不多是40年代的时候建的社区，然后那个社区在陆家嘴的中心，可是对在陆家嘴来讲，就是那个社区是非常破烂的。然后他们在那个社区里面就是组成了一个自治会，因为我后来才知道，就是中国大陆的那个志愿者大部分是服务于党的，然后这个党的他们的自治会也会在这个社区里面要体现他们服务于党的精神。然后这个社区里面就有类似像那个豪培的那个 Guerrilla Gardening 的这样的一个机灵地，然后他们的那个管理模式是靠每一户人家，就是因为老人都已经没事了，所以他们就让这些老人家出来自己变成一个新的协会或者是一个自治会，然后他们自己自愿去分配，说你今天是管那个幼儿园，你今天是管这个 Guerrilla Garden， 还是你今天是负责垃圾回收，然后你们自己去轮班，然后好像变成是一个不是在政府底下规定的，或者是也不是一般社会体制或者是政府单位告诉你要怎么做，而是这个自治会是变成是回到你社区自己去协调出来每个人的功能。然后我觉得很有趣，然后我觉得就是他们把这个 Guerrilla Garden 其实也讲得非常有意义，然后但是他让我 会觉得有点矛盾冲突的地方，是因为在中国大陆这边的体制很多是服务于党的，党是志愿者出来，就是人，就是我觉得我们讲的志愿者，有时候我们讲的志愿者是我们真心自己自愿要做的，但是在中国大陆的志愿者，其实有时候是你为了要凝聚这个服务的中心力量，所以他才称作是志愿者。我就觉得这两件事情在同样的手段去处理，但是在不同国家里面的情境下面会变得非常有趣。
我的深圳朋友嘛，那个做 social practice 的，他就跟我说他很不喜欢这种催赛这种 trend， 因为他发现就很多有一些更大的 community project， 其实是这些人进去是为了为自己的那个在党里面的那个 social capital 更高一点，是不是那个意思？
那个是另外的机制，但是因为我讲的事情是因为是上海现在就是以往的城市空间艺术季，它是找一个海外就是国外的策展人，或者是一个非常重要的像深圳双联建筑展的这种策展人来做，可是他这一次是全部就是让社区社造类型的艺术单位，或者是建筑空间，或者是任何单位，反正你就可以变成一个新的 collective， 你自己来提案，然后来 propose 你要在这个艺术空间里面做什么project，怎么让这个公共空间更贴近这个社区，因为上海有非常多嘛，什么黄浦区嘛，然后陆家嘴徐汇区，然后更贴近这个区自己里民要的这个艺术活动，所以他才会叫15分钟生活圈。然后我后来去查了一下，就是15 minutes life circle， 这个好像也是最近就是国际上面非常常在讨论的，因为它已经变成是一个研究的一个对象了。
I know the article. I'll send it over here.
你
好像有赞我有 share 在 Facebook。
我知道你 share 的那个应该可能是荷兰还是芬兰他们做的 study。
Defining the 15-minute city。哎呦，这个东西真是，有时候就是做 urbanism 的人，其实我们是有好的 intention. We are trying to solve some kind of problem, but it just, I think, bring to much more other problem.
但我可以感觉到，就是上海看起来很开放，可是其实它非常的集权，所以他做这个手段其实是可能是最大的让步，就是因为不知道会成功还是失败。
还有另外一个不是说他们说地摊经济吗？要做，就是说他开始放松对public 对公共空间的管理，就给一些对不对？你有听过这个吗？
都是就是甚至都有认识朋友，就是可以去摆摊儿，就是你去那儿摆摊儿，摆什么都可以，有卖毛绒玩具的，然后有那种比较平常，就是看到什么贴手机壳的，然后卖食品的，然后还有就是去塔罗占卜的，然后什么都有，就是不会管很多。其实你只要去了那儿，然后不干什么。
但我觉得这个是成都政府可能就是他们做的比较好吧。然后我知道有很多城市，就是上面说是可以做地摊这种经济，但是就是下放到每一个城市去执行的时候，因为就是很难去管理，尤其是一些小摊贩，他们是卖食品的，然后不好去监管它的质量怎么样。所以说，就是上面虽然说是支持，但是下面还是比较禁止去做这种事情，这是我听到的。但成都是做的比较好的。
我好爱成都。
来嘛，来。
好想去，我要再去吃老妈蹄花。还在吗？地方？还是艾薇薇的电影上了，它就不见了。
还有更多好吃的，
就靠你们了。我要去重庆，我要去看那个很 cyberpunk 的城市。
我也蛮想去重庆，
我们都没去过。
好
不是很近吗？
对啊，就是越近，然后越觉得有时间，然后一直没有去啊。
过哎，我去过四川一次。熊猫在哪？是看到猫尾而已，没有看到熊猫。
对，它又出来了，又是这只。
哎呀，我中文很差，快點嚟讀一讀。
啊！
城市中嘅奉咩空間戰術都市主義，無厘頭。哎，我喜歡這個無厘頭都市主義，這行了，這個行了，我是
在翻我的課堂筆記翻出來。
寬厚都市主義。how about 其實這個寬厚是不是在講 relation？因為我最近在讀一本書叫做《Ethics of Memory》，就是說我們之間的關係是以意義的深度，意義來賦予它的深度、厚度跟厚度、厚度，是這一個厚度嗎？
它應該只是指用途上比較有彈性而已。我一邊檢查一下筆記有沒有寫。
太好了，
有點太久了。
哦，有哎，
有，
就是反叛的公民权到反叛的城市主义。
我刚才给你看的那个活动里面有一个，就是最后面那个讲者，他就是上这堂课的老师，然后他现在被困在台湾。如果你们有需要我去抓人来的话，我刚好会去。
我要听。
我问看老师要不要，虽然他是城乡所的老师，不是义诊所的老师，但因为我去上过他的课，他应该还记得我。因为侯志远他的著作就是反造城市的那个作者，我觉得他的著作差不多都在讲类似的东西，只是他台湾案例比较少。然后如果要一些台湾的案例，我这边有一些，可是我觉得很少是艺术家，就是都是怎么讲，都是城乡跟建筑背景，在台湾做这些的，还是以建筑背景的为大宗。
是我真正的朋友，他也是以前是建筑所里面叫 Old Office 原建筑的 research 里面出来的，然后后来他才去欧洲学的 social design、social practice。
那豪培是你的主要的主修是什么？
我主修很不一样啊，我之前是做 interactive media 的。
那个 Syahrul 好像是你的 junior， 他好像就是 interactive media。
是啊，可是我就是毕业之后就远离了就是不是说
media， New Media 的这种
也没有了，我还是有用 video 那些东西，可是只是没有真的去善用科技来做我的作品吧。
歪的好啊，走的很 OK 啊，就是要
不然我就是我也不懂啊，就是可能 another Uric 捞这样。
哎呀，你唔好咁樣啦，哪裡是？
没有啦，不一样，就是我反正就是做了就覺得哎呀，我對科技的沒有那個 affinity。
講到或者 interactive media，以前在講 urbanism 裡面有另外一個東西，就是你怎麼用一個 space。That might be something that I'm going to do。就是說你不可以放 physical object 在一個公共空間嘛，但是你是其實可以 project image onto 的公共空間的。所以這個其實是很好，這個是那個 leeway 啊，就是大家可以，或者台灣的我以前有經常看到，他們用粉筆在地上畫畫，也是一樣的意思。應該不會抓吧粉筆？
不，就是小範圍是不會。然後台南曾經試過，就是封街，然後讓大家在馬路上面畫畫。
它封的就不好玩了，要自己畫的才比較有意義。
他就是要让这个，
它就是让车不可以进来，然后你
对
随便要怎么画怎么画。
嗯，
我知道那个。
好了，
艺术家们都测了，
习惯了就先把拜拜的东西先打下去，然后再
这样子也蛮好。但我们今天真的聊超久的，
我还在录我不录了，等一下Syahrul听到后面为什么都是中文？
你把它卡掉，你把它卡掉。